Welcome back to Sketchy Watercolor Artist. Today I am painting, for your viewing pleasure, our newest puppy. We've had him for a little while, but nonetheless, he's still a puppy. Mostly Pomeranian, I think. He's something else, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, this is gouache that I'm using. However, I'm using it very, very, very transparently because I am out of white. So, kind of like rules of watercolor, I'm trying to keep it really, really light at first with the general bright hue that I want, but knowing I can go over it more opaquely and darkly. But I wanted to try and capture some of the bright yellow that shines through his fur. So I started there, transparent, yellow, and it worked pretty well. I like I like having to build up and taking your time a little bit, adding slightly more and more opaque layers, and that tends to be my general process through most of my paintings. It's lay down your general local color, and then just kind of like find the next darkest thing that you can paint, and then the next lightest thing that you can paint, and back and forth and back and forth. And eventually you get enough of the puzzle pieces put together that the painting starts to work itself. The only struggle I had with this was it's taken basically from a photograph. So there's a real foreshortening thing that happened, whereas if I had drawn it from life, it would be probably a lot different. There's very definite effects of camera lens foreshortening going on here. And also from the original, I had drawn his left eye. The right eye in the picture, I drew it way too high, so I had to go back and move things. The other challenge in this was trying to take the saturation that I saw in the photo and translate it into the picture, but keeping values correct. So that left side of his face, it was a pretty grayed out version of the fur, but it still had hints of color to it, so it wasn't like straight gray. But when you're kind of graying out or neutralizing yellow, there's kind of the option of just straight neutralizing it or tinting it green. And I ended up tinting it green kind of somewhat by accident, where I laid down the yellow that was already there, but then I just went over it with sort of a dark, maybe bluish kind of gray. And it ended up coming out a greenish color, which makes sense, and it doesn't look incorrect. Spent some time softening edges. Fur should have a nice soft edge, and you should look for opportunities to draw large shapes of color, big tiles, rather than trying to draw individual fur hairs, The fun part about this was getting the look of his head laying in the grass correct, which grass can be hugely detailed, and you don't want to shoot for painting big amounts of details in grass like that. And so the trick is to find your method of simplifying what's there. And so I laid down a base color of kind of a mid-green color for the grass, and then I went in with darks and accented where there were dark spots, and focused them on around his head where it's nestling into the grass. The effect being that it kind of pushes the darkness back and under his head, and then highlighting those bits of grass that are coming up in front of him with the brighter white. And I am out of white, so that is actually pale yellow light gouache, but it worked out just fine, I think. Pets are one of my favorite things to paint. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, and subscribe.